Let's get into a project overview today, especially as we look into an eventual bull run here. Metaverse projects are most likely going to start to see a lot of activity. And one that we've covered here on the show before is a project called RedFox. You guys know them as RedFox Labs or RFOX. And we're going to take a deep dive on that with one of their executives. I think you guys are going to love it. My name is Paul Barrett. Welcome back to Metaverse Insider. Let's get into it today with Mr. Ben Fairbank, who is the CEO and founder of RFOX Labs. Great to have you back on the show.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Ben, let's get into it. First of all, the last time we talked with RedFox, it's been a minute. So I'd love to get your feedback on what you guys are up to today. Just quick roundup, and then we'll kind of run through a whole bunch of questions we have around some of your new features.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So yeah, it has been a while. We've just moving towards coming out of MVP. So we're about to go into open beta at the end of this quarter. So all that we've been building for the last 4 or 5 years now starts to click in together. We've already got it in MVP, as you probably are aware, and now it's pretty exciting because we roll out creator tools and go out into open beta. So everything that was disjointed or everything that was operating as a single piece now plugs into the platform, which has been the objective since day one.
Well, congrats on the work. I mean, obviously kind of heads down for you guys there within your development side. When you look at kind of doing many things at once and also the kind of platforms that you're building on, you said you guys were using Unity, is that right, for your game engines? Is that correct? Okay, so
yeah,
with that
correct.
being the case, I'm kind of curious, was there a reason you went that direction as opposed to something else?
Unity as a whole has about 38% of the world's developers as a gaming engine. If you look at Unreal Engine 5, for example, it has about 18% of the market share. The rest are sort of building on their own platforms. But the thing that's really integral about Unity as well is that Unity is the preferred platform for mobile VR games and worlds. So it was a fairly simple, straightforward sort of choice for us in relation to which engine to use.
All right, so that's a good thing. I think when we see, and I think also the scenario is if you look at the development cycle within building great games, obviously the game engine is going to be a big part of that. But and you have to be able to obviously scale with those kind of new features, things of that nature. So that's good that you guys are doing that. What devices are you guys currently on?
We're on VR first always, so we're on Quest. We're also on, so the VR headsets, we're also on Android and iOS. We did roll out PC as well, but we've decided just to really narrow our focus and make sure that we're laser focused on the platforms that we do offer. So we're not really doing much on PC at the moment. And the reason that is also is because, again, we just want to be laser focused, go to where the market is. And we did have the PC on and we noticed that there was very few users from the PC side. So we just really want to focus on mobile being the bridge to eventually VR getting mass adopted.
So I've talked to a lot of game executives, a lot of projects in Web3. I would say for the most part, everybody has been a little bit more bearish on VR adoption. You guys have kind of flipped it the other way. You think there is going to be some significant VR adoption. Obviously, if we've seen of what Meta is doing, with their devices. We've had HTC Vive on here before. We're seeing now Apple moving into the space. You feel that there's a little bit of a race for the tech right now, and are you guys trying to kind of be in the right position at the right time?
Yeah, I think when we started 4 or 5 years ago, we said that we wanted to do Metaverse, which was obviously a word that it took us hours, as you probably remember us saying last time, it took us hours to explain to people in a room what a Metaverse was. So we sort of set ourselves up. We knew that if you were going to build a metaverse, that you should be in VR first. That was since Snow Crash, it was the desired and the explained way to do things. And we just had a look at the data and the numbers. And like you say, with the bearishness, I think there was a 2% decrease in deliveries of headsets last year across the board. But the people that are using it are spending more time in it. There's more manufacturers coming through. And if you try something like the metaverse that we have, you walk through in a headset and you walk through on mobile, it's a completely different experience. And I think that this breaking down borders and giving people the opportunity to meet and shop and to talk and to be part of something across borders, that immersive experience is extremely important to feel as though you're in the room with the same room as a person. So I think we've hitched our wagon to the right thing, but ultimately being in mobile as well allows us, however much time it takes for the VR to be fully developed. It just means that we don't have to take on that technical debt.
Yeah, for sure. We had the HTC team on here, which, by the way, are you guys doing or planning anything to go into the HTC ecosystem? I mean, they already have a wallet built into their Vive product. It's starting to roll out with new headsets and devices. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, again, like depends which reports you read, but I mean, Quest has about 66 to 77% of the market share. You've got Pico with 8 or 9. You've got VR with probably another 7 or 8%, and then 14% for all the rest. So we've sort of gone with what we think has the biggest market share.
Okay.
We're also not adverse to using anything, and I think that the technology is evolving at such a rapid rate that we'll try and integrate as much as we possibly can. And with the wallet integration, we've had to build our own. We've got Wax already built in. We've got Ethereum coming, but those guys aren't building like MetaMask and that don't have apps for VR. So you've kind of got to pave the road yourself. But we believe that if we build it at our level, then we won't get stuck on a particular type of device, and we can actually freely sort of adopt and use any devices down the track.
You casually mentioned Ethereum. When you look at the roadmap, what would that look like? Obviously, you're on Wax now. That's a completely different ecosystem. Where would RedFox be, say, will Ethereum come this year, or what's your plan?
Ethereum, we're actually based on Ethereum. Wax was like a where we launched KOGS due to transaction costs and all the rest of it. And our plan was always to be multi-chain. We're also on BSC as well. We've got a couple of things in the pipeline now that we'll sort of announce in the next month or two, but we're looking to consolidate all of this and make it a little bit easier for end users because, as you would be well aware, if you've got tokens on multiple chains, you don't want people saying, which RFOX should I be using for this, and is this RFOX okay to use? We've got to get away from this. It's still far too hard for the end user and people coming into crypto, and I think that really slows things down. And much the same as we saw in the beginning of the internet and also mobiles, especially mobiles, people chose a particular type of network to go on. They tried to isolate their market share and make sure that it was ring fenced. We really need to get away from that and move much more freely towards great products and great services built on tech that people don't have to understand to be able to use it.
Yeah. I look at, the evolution of what we've seen just in a very short period of time in terms of digital ID. Obviously, ReadyPlayerMe, you guys integrated that. What was the thing that kind of pulled the trigger for you guys to go ahead and pull up with ReadyPlayerMe avatars?
Yeah, I think they were probably one of the first projects to integrate. I think we did that a little over 18 months ago. But ultimately, we were looking for, again, what we thought, and ReadyPlayerMe were much smaller then as far as market share was concerned, but they had far more interoperability, and you could use that across multiple worlds. So we thought that was a good ticket. We've built our own avatar creation tool, which will come out soon, but we plan to use that alongside ReadyPlayerMe and continue to use that. So they're a leader in the space. As you can see, though, with VR, everybody's in the race for how to make the motion more realistic, because you're talking about two hand controls and how do you make the feet move in line better. So the rigging systems are always going to be the key challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into the AI-powered apartments. This was something you guys just released here recently. Lots happening within that. Let's talk about the apartment chest, the AI showcase kind of scenario. Guide us through the RedFox apartment project.
Yeah, so the apartment's basically a personal space, and the reason it's different to a shop, which is effectively a district, you can have whatever you like in a shop. We've got games and everything in there. But with the apartments, it's a designated space. We give you a template, but we've already got AI integration where you can actually voice prompt, wallpapers, floorings, and you can actually change the interiors of these. AI has obviously become a big thing and a buzzword of late, and there's been a lot of AI-based companies just pop up out of nowhere. I think that the fact that we're in MVP and we've been around since 2018 and we've sort of talked about having AI since day one, This was an opportune time for us to be able to say, look, let's expedite the integration of that. So it's already in. So you can walk in with your headset and you can voice prompt. And as you say, you can go onto our website and you can try text to build to implementation in 30 seconds. But we've done it for total voice now. So you can walk in there and you'll be able to create assets very shortly just by using your voice.
That'll be pretty significant, I think, just in terms of use case within Web3 around the scenarios that are playing out within AI. Do you think this is something that, I guess when you look at Web3, do you feel like this is one of the cornerstones that's really accelerating in terms of development opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think going back to your earlier point, I think that there's every reason for people to be doubtful about VR adoption and for some of these technologies to be adopted, and there's fear over AI taking people's jobs and all the rest of it. Ultimately, what we should be doing is creating a set of tools that make it easy for anybody to be a creator. You should be able to go into these spaces and customize and not need a PhD or not to have extensive experience in coding. If someone set up the basic foundation and the framework, AI should be a way to enhance and to get the most out of the tools that you've got in these spaces. So we don't see any of these things as being the only technology that will run the platform. And there's a lot of other technologies that we're looking to introduce now as well. But ultimately, it all comes down to the pursuit of making it really easy for an end user to get in there without much experience and to be able to customize their experience in their spaces without also looking like absolute garbage. I mean, the thing is that it's very easy for people to build with building blocks. We need to make it still look good, and you've got to try and preserve that level of quality of your platform, which is always the key.
Yeah, for sure. Thinking of creators, and you look at the opportunities that this could represent, obviously being able to showcase NFTs in these apartments, being able to integrate wallets, the opportunity here to really kind of expand upon the nature of cross compatibility, interoperability. What is RedFox's plans with that?
Yeah, I think that the interoperability side of things is really important. No one knows exactly. I think if anyone tells you they know exactly where this is going, they're probably taking a wild guess. I think that giving people the creative tools, basically saying we've got the ball rolling for you, giving people an open platform that they can come in and build. And I think the nearest thing akin to this would be a Roblox type of environment where you can come in and you can have your own space and you can create and you can deploy. I think that the integration of the artwork that you're creating and the assets that you're creating and the crossover between the Web3 world and the Web2, so the digital to the physical, that's going to be really, really important. And ultimately, there's going to be people that are much, much smarter than us. And as a collective group, having the thought power going into what's possible and pushing those boundaries, our job will simply go to maintaining an amazing dashboard platform and UI, but most importantly, an amazing customer experience on the platform and letting the creators do their thing. But ultimately, we can already do displays of NFTs and purchases in any of the environments, but we'll roll those out properly as these apartments get revealed and released. We just started doing the quarter releases today.
Yeah. The apartment chest itself is kind of like a magical key. It gives you a lot of other benefits. Explain the value of that one.
Yeah, so the apartment chest is basically an unrevealed apartment, and you don't know whether you're going to get a studio, standard, penthouse, or a sky floating apartment, which is extremely limited. Effectively, they're all just different floor sizes. So again, if you've got a different type of a retail, like shop district space, that is unlimited to how big you can make it. Whereas with an apartment, it will be limited to a square meter sort of size, but you can do whatever you like in that. We've already got people that are going to build games in there, again, so a small game experience. Other people are going to build experiences. It doesn't have to be an apartment. The apartment is just a template for those who don't want to create or don't have any idea what they want to do inside of their personal space. Other people, like some of the blockchains we're working with, will use them as offices.
Interesting. That's maybe we need to get a small studio in one of these. That would be a good one for Metaverse.
Yeah, we can organize that.
There you go. Let's go with, I want to talk about your game. You guys did a horror game launch. Interesting. What other kind of game and social experiences are on the deck for you guys?
Yeah, so we've got a VR game, as you say, called Fear. It was independently built. We've acquired that just recently. I think ultimately, environments and circumstances have meant that this is a very good showcase for us, and we had to take the opportunity to snap that up and make sure it stays with us. So this is a full multiplayer, which is very rare in VR. It's a full multiplayer game, and it's as good as any standalone game app that you would find in the market. But the great part about this is it would have taken about 14 to 16 months to build. Cost 1.3 or 4 million to build from scratch if you take on the developers, the teams, and all the rest of it. And they were able to deploy this extremely quickly in about 10 weeks and for a fraction of the budget because they used all of the tools that we have on our platform. So what you're going to see is video game arcades where you walk up to, much like a video machine, a game machine from the old style arcades, and that'll transport you into another game. We've got Quest and we've also got Slam. So we've got it's kind of like your POGs, milk caps. We built it on a mobile previously. We've got it coming in VR. It's already in testing phases now. So, and Quest has just been released, which is more like a Candy Crush type of game.
Interesting. Okay, so other aspects of the game side, KOGS mobile games obviously are going to play into the metaverse in some way. How will that work? And when you look at that and you think about just the successful aspect of NFT games, kind of talk to me about the strategy there.
Yeah, so you'll be able to redeem, craft, claim items based on the KOGS NFTs in the vault, but you'll also be able to play the games in the vault. And the new Slam VR game will actually allow you to be able to just basically break out a challenge with people and put up your KOGS for risk as well to play the old street style arcade type of game. You'll also see more and more games come in and creep in as well. But KOGS is also offering us a pathway for other projects who have released NFTs that say, I don't want to build a game, or we don't know how to build a game, or don't have the money. Those guys can actually integrate by using KOGS or by putting their NFTs through onto KOGS.
Interesting. Okay. So that kind of creates a bit of a different strategy too, I think, for just creators from an NFT side of things. When you look at RedFox as a whole and what you guys are trying to bring out, obviously creator first kind of concept, we're seeing a lot of that in terms of Web3. One of the key initiatives, I think, obviously from the NFT moves that we've seen in the last 6 to 8 months, a lot of different marketplaces, et cetera, starting to play into that. And you look at just what you've done so far. If you look at this, say, in a year from now, where would you see RedFox in terms of not only the creator side, but how integrated will NFTs be by that time?
They'll be completely integrated. They're already on show. It's just a matter of can you buy them or trade them, and it depends on the chain. So we'll have the full marketplace integration that we built from scratch, the NFT tools. We've got we've got the DeFi side of things already built and operational. So there's an SDK for the gaming engine. So a year from now, we would have already, at the end of this quarter, gone out to open beta, and you would have seen a number of projects build within these shops. We've got a DAO launching fairly soon in one of the shop spaces. So people are starting to realize that you can build games, worlds, environments inside of these spaces. And some of these DAOs might have, significant in the tens of thousands of wallet holders as well. So we're providing an instant home. And with this metaverse slowdown, and why I say slowdown is because as budgets and funding starts to dry up a little bit, we've already been approached by a number of companies, and we've seen some metaverse companies in the last week just suddenly close, have come to us and say, you're much further progressed, so can we sit down and have talks about how we can use one of the spaces in your metaverse, because that makes it a lot easier. And it's a separate instance. So each of ours is a light separate instance. So when you want to do an upgrade, you don't have to wait for us to put out a new version of the app. A person returning to your space that has that you've made changes to will just go through a small load, which might take 20 to 30 seconds in the headset just to bring them up to speed with what you're up to. And they don't depend on us or rely on us to push updates or upgrades. So we've spent years planning out to make this scalable.
So is that the white labeling aspect of what you're trying to do?
It's more of a if you've got a space in our vault, You don't have to be dependent on us producing an asset for you or waiting for an upgrade or for to push the latest version. You can just build at your own pace. You can maintain your own instance. It is effectively your own little metaverse space inside of a metaverse. So that was important to us as well, because we didn't want to be in a situation where we had a backlog of tickets and people saying, we're waiting for this. Can you please integrate? Can you please update this? It's just never going to scale. So we spent years and we waited for a particular technology type to be ready, and that's ready now. So we're going with that. So Fear, which is a separate type of a game that could be its own standalone app, is able to be integrated as you see in the Vault. And again, Fear can make as many updates to that game as is humanly possible, and they can do it at their own pace. They're not dependent on us at all.
Okay, so then talk to me about NFT white labeling. How would that work, and how would you do things like royalties, et cetera, even to a certain extent, the aspect of things like e-commerce tools and so on? What's the plan there?
Yeah. So basically, let's just say that you are a DAO and you come in and you take up a residency in one of these spaces and you want to create your own collections. We would provide you with basically exactly like a Shopify for NFTs, so a storefront type of setup. You can create your own NFTs and then have a marketplace that you can then buy and sell in your own currency or the currencies that you choose. So that would act as an independent type of thing. Now, anything that happens in the Vault is a 2% transaction charge. 1% of that goes to holders, and then 1% filters back to the company. So that's how the model would work. And these collaborative type of communities as well are incentivized within their own communities to try and make sure, much the same as with Magic or Treasure .lol, to try and keep these collections within their community. So we think we've got a good model for that, but you could also just release on our marketplace if you wanted to as well. It's entirely up to the individuals.
Yeah, I guess it would depend on the creator, if they have, a certain level of audience, or, if it's a music artist, game artist, whatever it might be. It depends on that as to how successful versus going into a marketplace. Kind of like what's happening right now with OpenSea. Discoverability, though, is difficult in a lot of these bigger marketplaces versus maybe something like what this would be, at least in the early stage. With that being the case, and you think about retail businesses, e-commerce, the onboarding aspect, a lot of different kinds of projects now, especially going into Web3, they're trying to create a very easy use case for people who don't know anything about Web3 or metaverses to start to get involved in this. Is there anything you're doing from an e-commerce standpoint that would make that easy?
Yeah, we've gone inside out. So we've got a couple of things. We spent years building an e-commerce app, and we just saw that the technology had sort of morphed. And I know that a lot of people are trying to work out how to get it into metaverses, but we believe that through avatars and through normal video and motion picture and all the rest of it, what you could do is you can actually have, say, Post Malone performing, and then in the background you can offer the opportunity to live auction that space, so that e-commerce retailers could buy that space. Or you could actually have the avatar changing clothes during the actual presentation. So say they were doing a top 5 coin, they could change their clothes, have links in the background. So there's a lot we can do, but what we see is the metaverse being, for the most part in the beginning, broadcasting out to the traditional platform. So from your metaverse space. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's the model for now, but I think e-commerce will move towards rentable space and buying performances, buying the space in the backgrounds.
Well, yeah, this is a debate we have often: is do you need the functionality within the ecosystem of early stage Web3, or using it as, to what we're discussing here, more of a billboard? Much like YouTube.
Exactly.
There's no integration in YouTube to really sell merch, so a lot of the YouTube channels will use third-party merch. Same thing with different kinds of service, even if you look at memberships, all that. And YouTube's been a very mature platform, but it's great for discoverability. So I think that will probably be the case with early stage Metaverse and Web3. Let's get into your roadmap and talk a little bit about at least the near-term roadmap, next 3 months, then moving into the rest of 2023. What can we expect out of RedFox?
Yeah, so to be very blunt and honest, and as you would have known if you followed the project for any period of time, I think most people underestimated how difficult it would be to bring together new technology sets like VR, blockchain, all together at the same time. And so what we've done is the next couple of months is at the end of this quarter, go into open beta, so out of MVP, have the creator tools and the dashboard set up to a fairly simple level. And then the next few months, we'll start to add more and more development tools to that, make it easier, smoother to use. That's going to be the main focus. But then once we start handing over to these to the creator economy environment, we're going to see, and we've already got people that want to build things very different to games. So games, yes, will have sort of been premier and to the forefront. A lot of people are not trying to build shops at this early stage. They're not trying to build heavy retail spaces. They're much more using the metaverse as a way to bring together their crowds and audiences in a social setting. So it's going to be more about music and events and gatherings and office spaces and things like that. So our job is to basically provide the tools to keep adding to those tools, making it easier for the creators to use, and then to roll up all of the blockchains into one nice little package so that it's a lot easier for people to onboard and offboard. And I think, as you said, a lot of people are spending a lot of time and money on trying to make this easy, and it's not at this particular point in time. It's an absolute pig to use a lot of these technologies, and this is going to be the case for at least another year. But that's our focus, is to make it easy.
What about like brand partnerships? Is there something kind of coming down the pipe for that, or do you feel like this is going to be more on the side of the creator to develop those?
Yeah, I've said for a long time now that we've kind of, it's not that we've avoided brands, but um, I think you know as well as anybody, most of the brand partnerships that exist today are paid. So,
Yeah,
I'd have to go out and pay and do a contract with one of these brands for 3 years. Some of them run into the millions of dollars a year. And realistically, brands don't bring the hype, they go to where the hype is. So, what we have to do is we have to get the creators to come in and get those audiences built up, and then it becomes a lot easier. We have
yeah,
had a lot of brand interest, but as I say, it's all paid, so it's not. We kind of feel a little disingenuous. I think it's not really sincere at this particular point in time. If you don't really have a proper product out that's functioning and easy to use, you're kind of kidding yourself if you're onboarding all these big brands at this stage, because they're not going to be interested in a clunky platform with no users.
yeah, yeah. I think it's a little bit early right now, just other than maybe some of the true bleeding edge adoption. What we've seen with Nike and Artifact. There's a
Yeah.
handful of brands that have started to do a few more things to kind of go into that. So I would agree with you. I think it's coming. Likelihood is, to your point, it's kind of bring the audience, whether it's done through the creators or through those communities that start to find a place to create that kind of more metaverse experience. I think then that's what we'll probably see quite a bit more in terms of brand involvement. In terms of ID, digital ID is one of the big monikers of Web3. You look at what Unstoppable is doing. You guys have RFOX ID. What is next up? Could we see maybe an Unstoppable integration to where you could use digital ID from something like an Unstoppable here with RedFox?
Yeah, for sure. We basically haven't ruled anything out. And I think ultimately, again, our job is to try and get this platform to the creators, and then let people sort of ask and bring in and attach things. There'll be a lot of integrations. We're being approached by different headset manufacturers, by different software providers. I think everybody sort of wants to be involved in case that the metaverses that they're dealing with become the next big thing, or something gets adoption. They want to sort of make sure that they've covered their bases. And I think ultimately we would be very, very open to any of those types of arrangements, and making sure that they're integrated. But we've got a whole team of people that spend their whole day looking at what can be integrated and how it can enhance the platform. But we've learned over time, building a platform means you've got a lot of pieces, and a lot of people say you bite off more than you can chew. I think at this particular point in time, it's about laser focus, getting the simple stuff out to market, making sure it's clean and it works very well, and then we start to add feverishly as we grow.
Last question for you, Ben, on the roadmap. You look at RFOX NFTs, the ideal opportunity here is to bring in a lot of creators. What's the opportunity for them to maybe, start to use those NFTs in alternate metaverses, say a spatial, a portals, et cetera? What would that look like in terms of your roadmap?
Yeah, we've had conversations with some of the other metaverse platforms, of course, and we're trying to work out how to do it. I think the biggest issue is, and I've mentioned it before, is that some of these metaverses have bought certain things. So let's just say Sandbox with Smurfs, for example.
Mhm.
It's about the portability of IP rights as well. So what we've got is we've got our own avatar creation tool, and we can create effectively a version of avatars for our metaverse space and vice versa. But I think it's more about the breaking down the boundaries of what's allowed to be transferred. I think that's an actually harder thing to deal with
Yeah.
than the integration itself. So we're very open to having other people's stuff come into ours, like ReadyPlayerMe, for example, and vice versa, and having the stuff that's created in our metaverse used in other metaverses. It's entirely up to that metaverse, and we're very, very happy to accommodate anybody who we physically can.
I think these early partnerships are going to be very key, because it will start to set kind of the standards of what we will see in Web3, especially around digital ID, portability, NFT, marketplaces, which I think are right now all the rage right now. Obviously, as we see Blur and what's happening with Animoca Brands and pressure from them. I mean, it's a bit of a free for all right now. So it's going to be interesting to
Mm.
see projects like yours kind of come out of the fray. For sure. We've been here with, of course, Ben Fairbank from RFOX Labs. So again, thanks a lot for stopping in today. We appreciate it, Ben.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. Take care.
You bet. All right, so you guys are tuned in, maybe over on the podcast side of Metaverse Insider. Make sure and jump over to the YouTube channel. This is where we do all of the graphics, and a lot of our project analysis goes into more of a deep dive mode here on the YouTube channel. So check in there. And if you're not part of our Diamond Circle, all you have to do is get over to our Substack, which is just PBN3, the number 3, Substack. You'll find us over there. That's where we drop a lot of additional content. We do a podcast over there with Kyle and myself. And we do a lot of deep dives, even with the Power Index on analysis of Metaverse tokens and so much more. So make sure and join in there. We'll leave a link down below. If you guys want to reach me, it's out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on Metaverse Insider.